We're going to call the meeting to order. Before we do that, Sheriff Unger, good morning. Before we do that, we're going to ask you to please mute your cell phones for us so they won't be recorded. Thank you. With that, we are calling to order the Lander County Commissioners meeting, Town Board of Battle Mountain and Austin Board of County Highway Commissioners for August 8th, 2019. And if you'll all rise and join us in the salute to our flag. And Kathy, would you be kind enough to lead us this morning?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Looks like we have the women here this morning. We have Commissioner Sparks will be joining us in a little bit, and Commissioner Clark, I believe, is in Utah, so he won't be with us today. If you will join me now in a moment of silence, please. Thank you. Lander County Commissioners may break for lunch from 12 p.m. to 1:15 p.m. Any agenda item may be taken out of order, may be combined for consideration by the public body, and items may be pulled or removed from the agenda at any time. Commissioners' reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended. And I will start with you, Commissioner Allen.
I had a NACO conference last month, but I'm going to save that for Patsy.
You don't want to enlighten us with anything?
I didn't bring my notes.
Okay.
and it was there was some good stuff on it, but there was also a lot about they'd have the National NACO conference in Las Vegas this year, which was really a big deal. So we kind of talked a lot about that. But there's a couple other things.
Thank you.
All right, the hospital board meeting I attended last night, and the biggest subject was the clinic revamp. We're almost done with having that finished, which looks very nice on the inside. It's the only thing holding it up from completion now is the sprinkler system with the fire marshals, because they're like 17th in line for having the fire marshal approve their sprinkler system. So that's the only thing right now that's holding them up from completing and opening the clinic back up. So yes, that's the big news for the clinic in the hospital.
Thank you. Yes, as Judy mentioned, on July 26th, we did have our NACO meeting. One of the exciting things is we have finally replaced our natural resources manager, and effective August 1st, we have our new employee. His name is Colby Prout, like P-R-O-U-T. And I'm going to read you just a little blurb on him. It's very small, but it's pretty exciting with his background. He actually moved to Nevada in 2009 and working for the Nevada Conservation Corps, working on projects throughout the state on all of the natural resource areas. He got his master's degree from the University of Nevada in Reno and received his JD from Columbus School of Law at Catholic University. And he actually was working for the Washoe Legal Services, and just recently has left them to join us. So he has a wonderful background, and we're excited to welcome him. We also had a report on the census, and they want the counties to actually start what they call a committee of local complete count. And we listened to the presentation. I still was a little bit confused what that means, but they want a committee in every county that is going to like be on top of everything. Not the census workers per se, but a committee. So I'm going to kind of wait for them to contact us. In fact, she may have already contacted you, Keith. Okay.
Haven't heard yet.
The lady in charge from the governor's office will be doing that, reaching out to the different counties and giving us some more information. But they're real concerned that every county is going to have everyone counted that we possibly can. We don't want to miss anybody. The board also approved a coordinating study. It's going to be an actuarial study on the costs of Medicare assessments to the counties. Now, every year our Medicaid assessments have really gone up. They have more cases, just more indigent people, but some of them have really been skyrocketing, and we haven't had any kind of I guess, certification, authorization, anything to fight it on what the numbers are. So Clark County, of course, is one of the biggest ones, and they're going to be funding it quite heavily. And NACO has opted to finish the rest of the fund and do this study. And they think if every county has this study, we'll be able to at least say, these are our people. So now why are you just blanketing all the costs? Because they don't seem to have the reports that they need. So that was voted on. On August 3rd, we did have the Kingston Firefighters big fundraiser. They did really well. Commissioner Allen was there too. We actually had more people than we'd had before, and the estimates right now are a little over $13,000. So that's pretty exciting. On August 5th, there was a chamber meeting in Austin. I did attend. The big thing for them they're working on is their fundraiser for the wine walk and dinner at Stokes Castle, and that will be held on September 14th. On August 6th, I attended the reception that was held in Elko by the Nevada Gold Mines. I know most of the elected officials, I think, were all invited, and it was, I'm not sure, Paula also attended. Paula Tamara was there. We were the only two from Lander. But there was a couple from all the different counties, but it was excellent. It was a couple hours long, but Mark Bristow, who is the CEO and the president of Barrick, spoke with us on some of his ideas and the background of how successful they've been and how successful they will continue to be. But the biggest thing is they actually hosted a tour of the governor. So the governor got to come and look at the gold mines, and he was truly impressed. He spoke for a half hour telling us how wonderful the gold mines were and how well they took care of their employees, their people, their community. And it's true, but to finally have him realize that, I guess this is a first that he's been up here to do that. And they certainly rolled out the red carpet for him, and it was very nice to be able to speak with the governor on a different level and say, welcome, that yes, he is our governor, and the North welcomes that, and we hope we can cooperate and coordinate with all the things that are coming through the governor's office now. He does work very closely with NACO and has asked us for a lot of different names on many of his committees. So he has at least been reaching out, but he hasn't been visiting here, so that was exciting. And that's my report, so I will move into staff reports on meetings, conferences, and seminars attended.
Okay, the draft environmental impact statement for the sage grouse has been put out. If anybody would like a copy, I can either give you the website or I can make copies. It's a little over 730 pages long. So that'd be something if you're interested in reviewing it. Deadline for filing any objections on the proposal is October 1st. So if you'd like it, I'll go ahead and forward you that. And we can make a copy available here in the administration office if you'd like. The lands bill and our proposed industrial park is going to be updated by Kyla and JD here in a little bit. So that'll be some good information there. And then I'd like to introduce you to Robert Bobby Brooks. He's our new assistant safety training man. There he is.
Thank you.
He started July the 16th, and he's been moving forward on some things that we need to get looked at and taken care of.
Hello and welcome.
Thank you very much.
We have a date for the makeup pictures of the 22nd, which is the next meeting. He will be ready to go at 8 a.m. for the commissioners to take the photos that we started several months back. The rest of the things are on the agenda for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving into public comment. This is for non-agendized items only. Persons are invited to submit comments in writing and/or attend and make comments on any non-agenda item at the board meeting, if any, and discussion of those comments at the discretion of the board. All public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per person, again at the discretion of the board. Reasonable restrictions may be placed on public comments based upon time, place, and manner, but public comment based upon viewpoint may not be restricted. On our consent agenda, all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered, so I read public comment, but I don't give you time. How do you like that? I'm so sorry. Any public comment this morning? Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and may be acted upon by the Board of County Commissioners with one action without extensive discussion. Any member of the board or any citizen may request that an item be taken from the consent agenda, discussed and acted upon separately during the meeting. Consent agenda materials are available at the Lander County Clerk's Office for viewing, and copies are available for a nominal charge. Number 1, approval of August 8, 2019 agenda notice. Number 2, approval of March 28, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 3, approval of April 1st, 2019 special meeting budget workshop minutes. Number 4, approval of April 11th, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 5, approval of April 25th, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 6, approval of May 9th, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 7, approval of May 23rd, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 8, approval of June 27th, 2019 meeting minutes. Number 9, approval of July 11th, 2019 meeting minutes. And number 10, approval of July 25th, 2019 meeting minutes. And number 11, approval of the payment of bills. We do have before us number 1, number 2, and number 11. 3 through 10 are minutes that have not come before us yet to be read and approved.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Thank you, Judy made the motion, Kathy seconded
Oh.
that.
Patsy, let me, excluding 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Any public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Moving on to the agenda, we are going to take the first one out of turn. We are moving to number 8. Discussion and possible action to approve or disapprove the closure of the east end of West Humboldt, north end of Palmer Street, north end of Watt Street, north end of Stone Avenue, and west end of Burns Road, adjoining Boyles Ranch Road, for the annual Battle Mountain Flu Pod on October 29th, 2019, and all other matters properly related thereto.
So this is for our annual flu pod, and it's just asking for street closures. Brandy, the community health nurse, is here if you had any questions, but it's the annual event that we do.
Are these the roads we always do, or have they added?
They are the same ones, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I'll make a motion to approve the closure of the east end of West Humboldt, north end of Palmer Street, north end of West Watt Street, north end of Stone Avenue, and west end of Burns Road, adjoining Broyles Ranch Road, for the annual Battle Mountain Flu Pod on October 29th, 2019.
I'll second.
Thank you, Judy made the motion, Kathy seconded it. Any other discussion? Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. With that, we will go back to number 1. Discussion and possible action to approve or disapprove a parcel map application for Robert B. Hooper, changing parcel number 011-090-47 from one parcel to 2, located at 2287 Appaloosa Road, Battle Mountain, Zone A2, and all other matters properly related thereto. Good morning.
Morning, Kyla Bright, planning coordinator.
Robert Lee Hooper.
So this was, sorry, trying to get situated here. This was seen in front of the planning commission on July 24th and approved. Was also noticed in the Battle Mountain Bugle on July 17th. He's splitting one parcel into two, one 20.17 acres and one at 5.6 acres. And we are under the allowable septic density in that area.
And all okay with the planning commission? Mhm.
I'll make a motion.
Sorry, there was no
Issues?
issues.
All right, very good.
So I'll make a motion to approve the parcel map for Robert Hooper, chaining parcel number 011-09047 from one parcel to two, located at 2287 Appaloosa Road, Battle Mountain, and authorize the chair to sign.
I'll second.
Thank you. Moved and seconded that we approve this. Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. And that passes. Are you gonna be here for a little bit? Can I sign the Mylar on break?
Yes.
Is that okay? Number 2, update and information regarding the Lander County Landsville progress made as presented by the Lander County Planning Coordinator and all other matters properly related thereto.
Good morning, commissioners. Sorry. This, as you remember, Frank Whitman had come in and suggested that we hire lobbyists. That was approved and that's what we have done. They have come out here and done site tours of the land here and in Austin. We didn't get to take them out to Crescent Valley, but there's only one parcel out there. We've done a lot of background work with convention and tourism, myself, some members in Austin, just to let them know exactly why we want these pieces of land transferred from BLM or forestry into Lander County. They have spoken, as you can see in the update. He's given dates of when they have spoken to the different representatives. Amade, Rosen and Masto and their representatives. They are now wanting to come out here. I believe it's Masto's representative that wants to come out here and also do a tour of the lands and see them. They're in the process now of checking on the BLM land that they're disposing of to see if it also crosses with some of the land that we're asking to be transferred. And I may have put that in here. I did not. I did. Okay, so there was an email that came from Ryan Lovanen that does show the parcels that do cross with those. So those should be a lot easier to get transferred than the others.
I know that your predecessor had a lot of time and did most of all the research for Frank. I understand we've been on this for some time. But one of my questions is, I guess, I need a clarification here. When we hired this person to do this and go forward, I thought one of the things he was going to do was do the bill. Because we had this information ready to go, and we couldn't get any of the senators or Amade to write the bill. So we wanted him to write the bill and go forward with it, I thought. I really appreciate the update, and I see he's been contacting everybody, but who's gonna write the bill?
When we get to that point, yes, he will work with us on writing the bill.
Okay, because when I look through the correspondence here, it looks like everybody's going, well, yeah, we're in line and this looks good, let's see the bill.
So at this time, he's working on a resolution, a draft resolution that needs to be made beforehand. It's similar to what we had to do with the RS-247 roads, or that we still need to do. There needs to be a resolution stating that, yes, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it, and then it'll go into the draft of the bill. So that will be done.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Any public comment? We do appreciate the update. I'm glad it's going forward and we're getting our name out there. Keith, any comments?
We're, it's a little bit of a side note, but the golf course is also moving forward, that purchase, we're getting closer on that. So all the lands bill, the golf course, all that is moving forward.
Thank you. On number 4, we are going to defer until Commissioner Sparks comes in. We wanted our other member here to discuss that. So we will move into number 5.
Did we do 3?
Are we gonna do 3?
I'm sorry?
Number 3,
Oh, gee, I crossed off number 3. Thank you. Let's go back to number 3. Updated information regarding the Lander County-owned industrial park development located at Battle Mountain Airport is presented by the Lander County Planning Coordinator and all other matters properly related thereto. That's why you're waving that thing, the paper at me going, wait, I'm still here.
This one.
Okay, excuse me, yes, go ahead, Kata.
Okay, another little update, we wanted to talk about the airport. We sent a letter requesting a teleconference with the FAA on June 25th regarding a request for release from federal obligation. What that means is, yes, it's in Lander County's name, but it's also on our ALP as airport property. So we have to have permission from the FAA to be able to use that land. After they read that letter, they came back asking if we could look into it further because the deeds, in their opinion, states that it can be used for aeronautical purposes only, or airport purposes only. So we have since hired Western Title to weed out any issues or clouds on the title, wordings, things of that sort, to get that straightened out for us. Once that's done, we will hopefully be able to go back to the FAA and get the approval for the use. They have JD here to answer any specific questions you might have regarding that, or to also ensure you that we are doing the right thing.
Madam Commissioner, JD Hytop here from TO Engineers. It's very important to go through the process that Keith and Kyle are currently going through, which is to notify the FAA of this. Because the airport does sit on what's considered, it is Lander County land, but the FAA also considers it airport land. And there's a lot of restrictions that go with that. So to be able to develop that industrial park, it's very important to get this land released from the FAA, or get at least a letter of concurrence from them stating that it is okay to do that. If the county was to proceed forward without receiving that, then the county could potentially get into trouble, because Keith signs grant assurances and project certifications with each project, stating that airport land will only be used for airport purposes. And while this is a very related project, and it's very important to both the airport and the county, it's also important to notify the FAA and go through the proper channels to make sure that they concur and they're good with it.
Thank you.
Do you foresee any problems with them concurring with anything?
I think if we go through the proper channels like Kyla and Keith are doing, which is work with a title company, work with a lawyer to get some of the deeds, some of the language clarified and cleaned up, and then go back to the FAA. I think it's a process, but it is a process that we have to go through with the federal government.
timeline, any kind of timeline? No idea.
Did they give you any?
I mean, I'm not asking if it's gonna be done tomorrow, obviously, but just some, any timeline of how long this
When
process
you-
takes?
Right, when you do title searches, and they really dig into those titles, into the wording, they will go back even before the FAA had the land, just to make sure that everything is clean and clear. I do know that there are clouds on the title. That's just from seeing the transfer between Lander County to the Lander County Airport Authority. It's still in their name and they're no longer in existence, so there is gonna be probably some amended deeds and also some quiet title actions that are gonna need to be done. It's gonna take some time. I can't tell you if it's gonna be 6 months, a year, but there is some cleanup that needs to be done, and I really don't think we should put our hands up because it'll eventually be an issue that needs to be done anyways, in the future, so I think this just is perfect timing. It'll get everything, all the ducks back in a row.
Alright, very good.
Thank you. Any public comment? Okay, well, we appreciate the update. And for the record, we'll just go ahead and add that our letter actually, to Ken Hall, the community planner, was sent out the end of June, so we haven't received any response from that either, right, Keith?
No.
Okay. I didn't think so, or you would have said so.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, JB. Okay, now we'll move to number 5. Discussion and possible action to approve or disapprove the use of Old Lander County Jail located at 25 East Second Street by the Sober Senior Class of 2020 from August 8, 2019 for the purpose of implementing the yearly haunted house event and fundraiser and all other matters properly related thereto. Well, good morning.
Good morning. Robert Quick, and I'm representing the Sober Seniors Class 2020 this year. And this is the time that Sober Senior usually comes to the commission to ask the use of the building to create the haunted house for the community, which is a major fundraiser for the Sober Seniors class. So that's why we are here to ask to get into that building, to start building the haunted house, because it takes quite a while to do that.
Well, that's pretty neat when the sheriff's office gets to ask, so it's like, wow. Any questions?
I'll make a motion to approve the use of the Old Lander County Jail located at 25 East Second Street by the Sober Senior Class of 2020 from August 8th, 2019 through November 15th, 2019 for the purpose of implementing the yearly haunted house event and fundraiser.
I'll second.
Thank you, Judy made the motion, Kathy seconded that. Any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Next on the agenda, number 6, discussion and possible action to approve or disapprove the action to accept 2 vehicles from Eureka County and the Eureka County Sheriff at no cost for use by the Lander County Sheriff's Office and all other matters properly related thereto. Gentlemen.
Good morning, Ron Unger for the record.
Robert Quick for the sheriff's office.
Any questions on the cars?
So these vehicles, to give you a little history, these vehicles were offered by the sheriff in Eureka County. They no longer use them, and I believe we included in the request the referendum that Eureka Commission did to release them and give them to the county. These would actually replace 2 vehicles we're currently using, a 2000 Dodge Intrepid and a 2001 Dodge Intrepid. One of the vehicles is, the repairs would exceed the cost of the vehicle, so we've already taken it out of service. That's used by our detective. He's using the second Intrepid that we've had for quite a while, the 2001 Intrepid, and it's on its last leg as well. So we would take that second one out of service, and then you'd be able to utilize these for at least a period of time.
They're in better shape.
Much
Yeah,
better.
they're good shape cars.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, that was nice of them to recognize that we do respond in Eureka County and we're good neighbors, so that was very thoughtful of them to think of it. Did you have something to do with that?
Just a little bit.
I'll make a motion to approve the action to accept 2 vehicles from Eureka County and the Eureka County Sheriff's at no cost for use by the Lander County Sheriff's Office.
I'll second.
Commissioner, could you put in your motion, refer to the resolution from Eureka County?
Certainly. In reference to the resolution of the Board of Eureka County Commissioners providing for the donation of surplus property. Do you want me to list the rest?
Okay.
That's good?
Yeah, you just need to refer to it.
Okay.
I'll second.
Thank you, Judy made the motion and Kathy seconded that. Do we have any public comment? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Number 7, discussion and possible action to appoint an individual to serve on the General Improvement District Number 1 TV Board, Seat C and Seat A, with such appointment valid until the next election. So I guess my question is, when is the next election? Like, November is an election,
Right.
so they would just hold it until,
Yes,
well, actually till the end of the year, because somebody new or they would run in November.
right. So it'd be until like January 6th or something.
Got it, okay, thank you.
Do we need to, well,
I'll read the names in. Number A would be Jack Durr, new applicant, and number B, Richard Rothschild, new applicant, and all of the matters properly related thereto.
and these positions are both the same, so it doesn't matter seat-wise?
It doesn't really matter what seat they are, they're not in districts, so. Or they're at large. So-
Okay.
So you can just decide which seat, which one has.
When you make the motion, okay.
And they will both be eligible for, I mean, this is ending December 31st and
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll sit until January.
both seats, okay.
Yeah.
I'll make the motion to approve the appointment of Jack Durr for seat A on the General Improvement District Number 1 TV Board, and for Richard Rothschild, seat C, to serve on the General Improvement District Number 1 TV Board.
I'll second.
Thank you, Judy made the motion and Kathy seconded it. Do we have any public comment?
Do
All
I
those-
need to add until the remaining term? Or just,
Yeah, they're both vacant, so the statute says that we're filling a vacancy.
right, so I don't have to add,
Not really, because we're just filling the,
Okay.
but you can if you want, but you don't have to.
Okay, all those in favor?
aye.
Aye, thank you, and that passes. Moving on to number 9, discussion and possible action to approve or disapprove that the county continue with VSP as a secondary vision plan and all other matters properly related thereto.
So when we took on Anthem and they gave us the package deal, the I part of it, the I benefit, is with a different carrier that is not commonly used in this area. So what we're proposing is that we maintain VSP at a cost of, an additional cost, it'll be about $17,380.92 per year. If we were to pull out the vision that's in our group discount, it would cost significantly more. They would up that because we wouldn't have that package discount anymore in order to maintain both of the eye care programs. So if we keep VSP and we keep what's in the package with Anthem, it'll give the employees an extra benefit, but it'll also be one that's used locally, accepted locally more throughout the area.
Okay, so we still have the Anthem vision that you can use.
Yes.
And now, and I understand why we're keeping the other. Unfortunately, when we made this decision, we were right up against the time frame, and they offered us the whole package, and we did not get a chance to look at dental or vision.
Correct.
So,
Dental stayed the same. Dental is actually the same as
the
it was
dental is
before.
good,
Yes.
but because we didn't get a chance to really vet it, it's like, that's very poor for us to make the decisions all that quickly and not look at this.
I understand
So we
that.
have
were
not
up
canceled
against the time
VSP, is that what we're saying? But it ended the end of July, did it
frame. It
not?
actually went to the end, it'll go to the end of August
So we're okay,
right now, but it will end. Unless we decide to maintain it
okay.
at a county level.
Do we have any money?
Questions?
Is there enough money in the budget to cover this?
Yes, yeah, there is. And that's for the whole year. The 17,380.92 is for the whole year for the employees. It's just a secondary insurance, the VSP.
I guess I don't like the term secondary, because when I hear secondary, I think something has to go to the primary first.
Oh, okay.
And so it will be an additional,
Yes,
how about that?
okay, that's better. It's an
We will have
additional-
two visions
Two visions, yes.
for right now while we are with Anthem.
And like I said, we can take out what Anthem has given us, but if we take that out, then we lose that.
That blows the whole package deal that we got, that's
That
why
is
we do it.
correct, yes.
Which has actually saved us more than the 17,000
Oh,
when we look at it.
significantly
so.
more.
Okay.
So I'll make a motion to approve the county continues with VSP as a additional vision plan.
I'll second.
Okay, motion then to continue with VSP, any public comment?
Robert Quick, how does this affect dependents and employees that are covering dependent costs?
So we calculated this number based on the people that have the entire package through Anthem. So it will roll over into, if you have somebody else on your plan, they will be able to use the VSP as well, yes.
Thank you.
With no additional
With-
charge to,
To the employee, that is correct.
All those in favor?
I,
Aye. Okay,
Thank you.
well, we have two plans. They can get sunglasses in addition to their other glasses this year. That's cool. Okay, number 10, discussion only regarding 501c nonprofit organizations and how grants are awarded by Lander County and all other matters properly related thereto. You know, I know we have this a couple times and it's like, we're still going at it. I hope you can clarify for us again, Counselor.
Is that what you want me to do?
Yes.
Clarify this for you? NRS 2441505 states in pertinent part, a Board of County Commissioners may expend money for the purpose which will provide a substantial benefit to the inhabitants of the county. Now let's stop there for a second, because that's the line that I've advised the county commissioners that they're able to use for non-501c3 organizations. Then it continues, except as otherwise provided in subsection 4, the board may grant all or part of the money to a nonprofit organization created for religious, charitable, or educational purposes to be expended for the selected purposes. Now, what that means is that the NRS at this point in time, and I've talked to some commissioners, and we've agreed that the NRS is not caught up with the IRS rules for these organizations. But we have to follow the NRS rather than the IRS rules. So charitable institutions, or the requirements for an organization created for religious, charitable, or educational purposes is outlined in NRS 372.3261, and is pretty specific on religious purposes, charitable purposes, and educational purposes. And only 501c3s fall within that category. So when we have a 501c2,
Anything, 10.
4, 5, we have to use the first line of the statute that I read, and we have to do a resolution, and we have to find that it provides substantial benefit to the inhabitants of the county for non-501c3. If it's a 501c3, it's easy. We can give them all property, we can help them buildings, but if they're not a 501c3, then all we can do is provide some money once a year when they ask for grants, if they prove and if you find that they provide a substantial benefit to the inhabitants of the county by resolution.
Okay, so the 501c3s, we just give the money. Anything else, 501c, we have to do a resolution for.
Right.
Okay, now we voted last March to do resolutions to some of those grants.
Right.
You're still working on those resolutions, right?
Well, I haven't been provided the information to do them. So, am I working on the resolution?
Well, I thought you were.
I don't have the
guess.
information to
Oh,
work
well,
on.
I guess who's doing the, because we voted to give them the money and to do the resolutions, so I guess that's the question. Who does the
Who
resolutions?
does resolutions? I don't have the information on who applied for grants and their purpose.
Can we do a blanket resolution?
We can do a, yeah.
Generic?
We can do a generic one and then apply it to all of them.
Could you work on that for us?
I can work on it with Keith. Absolutely.
Okay,
Be more than happy to. But I just don't have the information to then, to do all the individual
Of
ones,
course.
because they're all asking for different things for different reasons.
But if we just have a generic,
Generic one, we
Resolution
can
that-
adapt it.
yeah,
And I'll be contacting one of our representatives to try to get a BDR to update the NRS, so we can
Right.
try to have
Now,
it fix this.
technically, the people asking for these grants should be doing all this work.
well, I don't think it's,
Oh, yeah.
what I was gonna say is, as far as the resolution goes, I mean, if we have just a generic form,
Yeah, if we have that,
fill in
we
the
can help
blanks,
them out.
but, they're still doing their work to show us why they feel they should get the money.
What I'm saying is not that they have to do the resolution, Commissioner, but they have to put down all the reasons. They have to prove to us by statute that it's in the best interest of the inhabitants of Lander County. And they haven't been doing that.
Well, and so in that respect, that, offhand, I can't recall what the grant request forms say, but, if there is a line in there that states why, what are the benefits to the community, but, if they're not doing their homework, is maybe as a commission, once, budgets, we need to look at that.
Right.
And be very strict on it, that this is what you're gonna have to follow.
And this is where you can put conditions on it too, in the resolution. Because you've discussed putting conditions on these things, such as come back to us and show us what you did with the money. And doing accounting and providing accounting to the county commissioners. Those can be put in the resolution.
And can we also put in the resolution, if they dissolve and do nothing beyond that, that we can ask if the rest of the money hasn't been spent, that it be returned? Say, that, an example, we give out $70,000, which I know we're not going to do that this year. Well, in a year and a half, that organization dissolves. Where's, that there's a condition in there, if they dissolve, that they have to come back to us and show us where all of that money, if there's any money left, then it needs to be returned to the county.
I don't know if we can do that. I certainly know that they can be investigated for fraud if there's any type of fraud, if they perpetrated fraud on the county. But I don't know if you can, if once it's granted for a legitimate reason, it'd be hard to get it back unless they commit some type of fraud.
Even if they dissolve within a year of, and they haven't spent those
Well,
funds.
it's only good for a year.
I know, but I like, some of them don't, you know, if that, like a large amount like that, they are gonna have, they may use it over 2 or 3 years, but if they haven't spent those funds and they still have money remaining, that it be returned.
That sounds more like a contract.
Okay, well, I just, if they had money left over and they dissolve, who gets the money that's left in those accounts that belongs to the county, is my only
It's
concern.
It's not really the county's money though, once it's.
Once it's given, it's no longer the county's money, unless you put conditions on it. And the conditions that it has to be used for a specific purpose, and if it's not, then perhaps you can put down that the money should be returned to the county. Sometimes, but that would be in the conditions.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Keith has
Keith?
something to say.
I just wanted to be recognized before I spoke. So if you'll remember this year, commissioners, we did change that. We do not actually give them a check or give on July 1st. What they do is they will submit invoices to us, and then we will pay off of those invoices.
Oh, that's
So
right.
we do not actually give them a lump sum check like we have in the past. So we track, for instance, if we give a $20,000 grant and they ask for a $1,500 reimbursement, they tell us we need a $1,500 reimbursement, and it was for whatever it was for.
Okay.
So office supplies. And we actually have that in our documentation, and it's kept here in the county. So they do not get that lump sum
Okay,
check.
that fixes that, so, all right.
Yeah, that fixes that problem.
You were very, very vocal about that. You were right on top of that the first time, Kathy.
You were.
And we listened. No, but the thing we haven't done is we haven't done the resolutions.
We haven't.
And I just thought you were doing them, I guess. So if you would do a generic
Generic.
resolution, we can fill in the blanks. Because we know that we aren't gonna give them money unless they prove to us all those things that
Right.
we feel are important to the community of why we give them the money. Okay. Any public comment on this? Okay. We're gonna go ahead and take a quick 10-minute break. Kim? I said that to give Judy time to come back up. You know, I'm going to wait on number 11 and 12, which are our conflicting dates. I'd like to have Commissioner Sparks here for his input on those dates. So let's move on to number 13. Discussion and possible action to approve or disapprove waiving the rental fee for the use of the Civic Center for the World Human Powered Speed Challenge in September each year, and the Battle Mountain Chopper Tournament for the first weekend in November each year, and all other matters properly related thereto.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good
My
morning.
name is Paula Schmidt, for the record. I'm with the Lander County Convention and Tourism Authority. And so before we get started on that, I just have, sometimes there's some questions about what we do and why we do it. And so I have a little presentation that kind of that will explain what we do. And although some of this does highlight the Las Vegas and Reno, it does pertain to us as well.
Tourism is the lifeblood of our community. Tourism means people coming to our area to have a lot of fun, filling our restaurant.
Jobs in a small community, the opportunity to send someone away with a smile. Tourism means creating lifelong fans of Nevada.
Tourism in Nevada really has come a long ways, and I think sometimes when we're around
tourism means more than just people coming into our town and staying in our hotels. It means that we have the tourism and economics portion that I gave you in your packet. If you look through the graphs that the state of Nevada Tourism Office helped me prepare, it gives you kind of an economic outlook on what is actually bringing into Nevada as a whole. And then we've separated it into what it brings to Lander County specifically. So our mission, we were created by NRS 2448 for at least 5/8% of our money should be used to advertise the resources of the county related to tourism, including available accommodations, transportation, entertainment, natural resources, and climate to promote special events related thereto. So as people come to us and ask grants and things, we need to keep in mind that we are promoting tourism. That means bringing visitors into our community where they stay, spend money, and the local businesses benefit from it. So the first slide here is we separated it out into just Lander County, and so our accommodations for Lander County, there was $3 million put into our economy in 2017 just in the accommodations. The food and beverage was about $2 million. Gaming, we don't have that listed there because we don't have actual casinos that they track there. Recreation is about $3 million. Retail was $5 million. Transportation was $5 million. So a total of $17 million that was put into our county because of tourism. So they have a direct impact, which refers to impacts that occur as a direct interaction with a visitor. So for example, a visitor paying for a hotel night, eating a local restaurant would be a direct impact because they're directly spending money on those items. Total impact refers to direct and secondary impacts, and the secondary impacts entail a couple of different things. One is when a business sector that is directly impacted by a visitor spends money that is used as an input. So think of this like a hotel that needs repair to repair its air conditioning. The money that's going into their repair company would be a secondary impact. Even though the repair company doesn't directly receive money from the visitor, it's still impacted indirectly. So other types of secondary impact refers to employees that are affected by visitor spending, either directly or indirectly, spending their wages in the local economy. So that was the visitor spending by category. And so if you go to the next slide, I don't know if I can make that go up bigger. So the next slide is the county tourism impacts and employment impacts. So our employment, the total for employment relating to the tourism sector is 221 people employed in Lander County that directly are related to that tourism industry, whether it be hotels or restaurants or what have you. Labor income total is 5.7 million. Federal taxes that you receive in for Lander County tourism would be $1.2 million, and state and local taxes brings in about $1 million each year to Lander County. And the visitor spending is $17.4 million. So, and the next slide is the direct impact as we compare to other places. There you go. Thank you. So Lander County, the visitor spending, like I said, visitor spending, like I said, is about 17 million. The employment is about 125 people. The labor income is 2.9, and 750,000 and 680,000 for state and local taxes. You can look at these other counties and kind of compare what we're doing versus what they're doing. We are limited because we only have so many rooms available. I wish I could increase that, so but we're working hard to try to figure those things out. Right now, we're going to go to just the impact that convention and tourism has right now. Nevada Convention on Tourism has advertising grants that they give out every year. They also have PRT grants as projects relating to tourism. One example of that would be a little information station that's going to go over to the museum where if the museum is not open, they'll have a kiosk there with information, and so that was brought on by a Nevada PRT grant. The other grants that we do are related to billboards. So I typically I do all the billboards, I do magazine ads, I do TV ads. We're running an in your backyard campaign in Reno Market for Cowboy Country as a whole, but through some of these grants that they've given, we're able to advertise ourselves out to all these other communities. I also get grants to attend different tourism shows within the United States. There's currently 3 or 4 states that I go to every year to promote Lander County as a whole, and we can see the reward coming back by people calling and coming into town and stopping by either our office or the chamber to say that they've seen us somewhere, and they've seen our ads or various things. So in total, and the next few slides are just since I've been there, that's all I can really speak to is since I've been there, I've written over $105,000 in matching grants through Commission on Tourism to do some of the advertising that we've done. So the next would be the grants that we award to the community. So when a nonprofit comes to us and they need help with their advertising or various projects that they're doing, this is broke down into, like I said again, the 5 years that I've been here. So for Austin, we've given a total of $92,275 in grants in those 5 years. So some of the recipients would be American Legion, Chamber, Historical Society, Lions Club, Roving Club, Austin Volunteer Fire Department. We helped out with their recent fundraiser, Ridley Day, St. Augustine's Cultural Center, and then Town of Kingston, Kingston Fire Company, the Biking Association, and the Great American Bike Race. We've helped out with a few other things, but these are just some of them. So the advertising spent in Battle Mountain, and you'll see some years that fluctuates. Well, for this slide, it fluctuates depending on the grants that I receive from the state as far as what we can do, but on average, we're getting about $60,000 per year spent to advertise our community. And so that's where that 5/8 goes into play. That needs to be spent of our total gross. 5/8 needs to be spent on promoting Lander County as a whole. So for Battle Mountain, that's how much we've spent. For Austin, we've spent the $37 to $18. So getting into the 2 events that we do, and I know there's been some talk about I should do more. I do have a lot of things going on, but these events take up a lot of my time. When the event is over, I start the very next week planning for the next event. Each event is taking me a year to complete because there's so much that goes into running this event. And when the event comes up, of course, I bring my family in to help me, my friends. You know, I have a lot of friends during the year, but when November comes around, I don't hear from anybody till January because they're so exhausted, I've worn them out. So to do any more events, I would actually, I need the public to help do those events. It's not that I'm against doing the events, it's just I don't have the manpower to do it with me and my part-time assistant. So for the bike race, we calculated out with Kyle Schultz with this Travel Nevada, we calculated out the hotels and the spending that is just derived just from for the room stays. So you can see the different hotels that they have. Right now, the Big Chief and Super 8 are completely sold out. The other two hotels, depending on their rooms that are available to rent, is depending on whether they're sold out or not. The Battle Mountain Inn and Suites is doing a renovation of their property, so instead of having 20 or 30 rooms available, we're hoping to have the full 70, because every single year we are completely sold out. Last year and the year before, we actually had to have people stay in Winnemucca because we did not have enough hotel rooms for them, and they would travel back every day to come. So the total income for the hotels during this time is $197,016. And how we calculate that is we figured out that an average rate for a stay in one of our hotels during that time, because they do give the racers a little discount on their room. We figured the average party size is going to be 4 people to a room, which is a lot. So we figured it would be $18.50 per person here. They're spending every day on lodging. Non-lodging expenses would be about $105 per day. And so the total spend per day per visitor is $123.50. And that doesn't even include the specialty items that they need during the year, or during the time that they're here, which would be like the things they buy at Ace Hardware and Napa and all those other places that supply the Bondo and different things they're working on, and they buy a lot of tools and things while they're here, so that doesn't include that. So the total travel party spend per day would be almost $6,000 per day that they're spending. So the total estimated room tax that we receive is $18,000. Now, we give them a grant of $5,000 every year. Sometimes it goes a little bit more or less depending on their needs, but we purchase their the t-shirt, posters, and then above that, in the advertising that I spend within the county, right now we're running ads in Reno, the Reno market, Metro Market, for the World Human Powered Speed Challenge, to bring visitors here, which is kind of a challenge when you are running advertising to bring visitors in and you have no hotel rooms. So hopefully we can work on that in the future and getting more rooms, so that we're really pushing the economic impact. So then we go on to that explains the total impact. So for most of them, because we added another day, the average time that they're here, we're going to say is 12 days, but the majority of them are going to be here 14 days. So what makes this different from any other event that we do is that the Highway 305 has special characteristics. It's the longest, straightest, smoothest stretch of highway in the world, and this is actually the only place in the world, because of its elevation and all those things, and the fact that the county is and NDOT approves these the road closures for the 20 minutes at a time. It's the only place in the world they can do this event. So for us to not support it and do everything we can to keep them here, that is a potential of almost $300,000 that goes into our local economy for just say 12 days. That's a lot to bring in. So we definitely don't want to do anything that would impede them coming back or trying to find another place. And I do have when we do our rural tourism conference, I do have other people saying they wish they could steal this from us, so it's something that other people want to have. So, and we're just lucky that after all of the searching in the United States, that they found this highway, and the county has been good about letting us close down that road for those times. So the Chukar tournament, so when I started, we had about 40% of the attendees were from out of town. And in the 5 years that I've been doing it, we've done a variety of advertising through newspapers, art, magazines. We've run some commercials, but the two things that are really increasing my visitors coming in is we've done an ad in the Nevada Hunting Small Game Guide and the Oregon Small Game Guide. So we've actually, last year, we finished out at 70% are from out of town. So we've increased that quite a bit since in the 5 years that we've been doing it. And so we're figuring that most of them are here for 2 days, but we're gonna do a conservative number of 1.5 days, and the economic impact for those 1.5 days is almost $25,000. So the funding that we use to promote this event definitely pays back to the local businesses and hotels and restaurants that are seeing these people come in. So some of the facilities and projects that throughout the years, and there are some that aren't on there, but in full or in part, just to show you how the tourism dollars has been spent lately. We helped purchase water rights for the Rock Creek project that ultimately didn't come to fruition. We helped with the golf course, the adult softball fields, the concession stands, racetrack, motocross, getting those things going. Like with the racetrack, we helped with bleachers, lighting. We do sound systems. We recently replaced the sound system out of the racetrack. Motocross was the same. We helped them get transponders so that instead of having bodies up there counting laps, we have a system where the transponder with the main system counts how many laps. So it's more accurate, less arguments about the laps that they're making. So it improves the racetrack. Last year had maybe 100 to 200 people at the event each race, and last weekend and the weekend before, I believe they had over 500 people in the stands, which is pretty great. So they're doing all that they can to attract visitors. We gave them a grant to do their advertising. Some of the nonprofits don't know how to write grants, and so that's a service that I help provide for them, either helping them figure out how to get the process done, or through convention and tourism. I write those grants through Travel Nevada for them, so this is one of those. And for instance, I think the rise in the attendance is related to the fact that we have a texting club now. And so everybody who's interested in racing, we've been putting the texting club, and that's how people are getting aware not only of our races, but all across northern Nevada. All the racetracks are part of it, and so we're getting the word out, and that's how we're bringing in these people. And the efforts that Angie and those guys are making out there to attract visitors is pretty great. Anyone that stays out at the racetrack, it's dry camping, and they are charged room tax. They fill out a form, they submit it every month to us. So if they're not staying out there and getting charged, they're definitely staying in the hotels. I recently picked up a survey that we have a little survey card for visitors in all the hotels, and it just you say why you're here, where you stayed, and any good or bad comments, because we like bad comments too, because that helps us grow and do better every year. So one of the people from the last races filled out the card and said that he had a very enjoyable time. It was a great facility, and they're just so happy that they could come here to Battle Mountain. So we helped with the expansion of the Civic Center, the Cookhouse Museum restoration. We gave money to that. And recently, last year, we gave $150,000 to help the train station replica come into the next phase. Willow Creek restoration, we gave $300,000 for that. That's why you'll see the large numbers on that. Is we gave $300,000 over a period of 2 or 3 years for that. So Newmont did all the work. We provided the funding through an interlocal agreement, and so with that, they were able to restore the different ponds and dredge them. We put in bathrooms, they installed camping areas. It's actually a really nice place to go, and it's just a few miles out of town. And when we have visitors come in, we send them out there, they're amazed at just how peaceful and quiet it is out there. And it's being used a lot, but it's not so much that people don't enjoy themselves out there. So the gun range, we've helped by the bleachers and the traps. With that, our local school kids in high school come out there and they utilize the traps out there as part of the course for high school. Some of these I don't know a whole lot of detail of them other than in our records. These are some of the things that we found that we've funded. The bathrooms at the Elquist Park, moving the Longhorn Bowl over to the school. On Highway 305, the racers were concerned because they are going upwards of between 70 and almost 90 miles an hour. The metal posts that are along the side of the highway, they were concerned about hitting that at going fast speeds. So we gave them a grant to replace all of them with plastic safety hit posts. We created, because the two ends the parking areas are not very large, so we created visitor spectator parking right across in the middle where the timing area is. So they start out where the ACES reload station is, and then the middle part where the timing area is 4 miles, and then they have about 2 miles to slow down. So having that set up at the 4 mile mark, people are able to go in and park, and we don't have people walking in the gutter, the side gutters and stuff, which is less of a safety issue for us. And then we have, I think in your packet, we have a plan that's set up through NDOT on safety procedures, and we have all the roads blocked by trained personnel so people don't get on the highway. We bought a portable bleacher system, so we can just haul it behind one of the trucks. And poor Paul and I spend a couple days before and after the event taking the bleachers out, setting them up. We have bales that have to go out on the various bridges and things that we have to put up for the event. And the bleachers make it really nice. In that area, we always make sure that someone associated with the event is there, sitting in the stands, explaining who's coming and going, and it's really creating a better visitor experience. We had several people from Winnemucca and Elko come last year, so that's pretty great. And then the latest project we've done is the little street banners in town, and I think you've seen some of them. They looked a lot bigger when I got them in, but when they get up, they don't look as big as I hoped. But I think it's, it was a good idea for us to just promote all the different things that we have in Lander County. So we were able to get those for the 3 different communities and just advertise everything we have when visitors do come through. So in Austin and Kingston, these are just some of the things that we've done as well. We purchased the Austin Clinic several years ago so that they were able to have the Nevada Rural Health Centers come there, and then the courthouse uses the parking lot as well, so they were worried about that going to somebody who might not have that interest, I guess. And so we continue to lease that out to the Nevada Health Centers. American Legion, building repairs. The Austin had some great billboards in town, but they were getting kind of run down, so we helped to repair those and get new vinyls put on them so they could promote their great mountain biking thing. And then the Austin Roping Club purchased a sound system, town banners. Kingston, they had their cemetery there as well, Pioneer Cemetery, so they had some ideas about how they wanted to repair it, because believe it or not, cemeteries are something that visitors come to, and whether you have someone in there or not, people just find it fascinating to go and look at the old cemetery. So we helped them with repairs for that. We've done park benches and helped them get their pond up and going in the town of Kingston. That's where they hold a lot of their events, so that was pretty great. And then we also have banners for them as well. So, so I just wanted to go over that so that you, hopefully most of you know, the impact that the tourism has on Lander County, and specifically Battle Mountain on these two events that we have. And so, I'm asking that you waive the fee, for the use of the Civic Center, because if, these events, like for instance, the World Human Power Speed Challenge is run by a nonprofit group, and they rely heavily on funding. We're a little concerned next year about the funding, local funding that they're going to receive simply because of the merger. So if we're having, we are going to pay to rent the Civic Center, we have a budget as well that we need to stay within, and so we would have to reduce the amount of funding that we give them simply to cover the rental fee on the Civic Center. And I'm just hoping that by showing you for the 12 days that they're here, it has a significant impact within Battle Mountain for this event, and then again for the Chucker tournament. So I would just ask that you would consider waiving the fee for those two events. There is a potential that we might move the bike race to August next year, late August, so it might not be September every year, but if you could consider waiving the fees for those two events, I would appreciate it.
Well, I did some research on this subject because we did keep going back and forth on exactly what can be done in the Civic Center for nonprofits or government. Well, I went all the way back to the very beginning to find out how the Civic Center began, because I was under the impression this whole time that the county built the Civic Center. Well, that's not true. It was county land. It came from a Flashman's grant, and the county did help put in the power, which was roughly like $175, but the Flashman's grant did the library. It was originally the library, and then to add on to the Civic Center. Then we had people like Duval as far as putting the curtains in. So Lander County did not build that Civic Center. And under the Flashman's grant, and they're still like this with their funding, that there were specific guidelines and assurances that were put when they turned that building over to us, was nonprofits were not to be charged, and government like the Sheriff's Department, other county offices, those were not to be charged. They focused more on like people who were having parties in there. They would be charged. People who were going into competition with other businesses in town, say if somebody came in and wanted to set up a one-day, coffee house, they could never get it for free because they were in direct competition with businesses in town. And that's it was a community center to be used for that and to help promote Lander County. And so in doing more of the research, because it's been gone back and forth that the Convention and Tourism doesn't do anything for Lander County. That is absolutely not true. We know that now from the presentation, but so people know that the Convention and Tourism paid $500,000 of their money to revamp that Civic Center, and it wasn't even their building. It was the county's building, and they put all of that money in to bring it up and change out the ovens and the refrigerators and the ice things to make it a better facility. And so they have a vested interest in a dog in that fight as far as being charged, because they helped us make a better Civic Center for other people and for this community to use. So I think as far as having to come back every year to ask, or every 4 years, or however that is to be, it's in the assurances when we're having the documents pulled at this time that nonprofits aren't supposed to be charged at all. So it really doesn't matter, or the government agencies. So it really doesn't matter. As far as I'm concerned, the rest of the board might have a different thought on it, that we keep bringing this back up of them having to come and ask for our good graces to use that building. So I think through the assurances, through the Flashman's Fund, when they built it, that was built in there to begin with. So I don't know how everybody else thinks, but that was, like I said, the research I did. And I spoke to the person who actually started that Civic Center, working on that Civic Center, who worked for 12 years. And So I'm pretty sure that she's well aware of everything and, you know, crack that has to do with that building. So I'm going to definitely take her word for it. On top of that, I am getting the documents pulled just in case we, you know, have disagreements. So that's my 2 cents.
Thank you, Kathy. I totally agree with Kathy's impression that, you know, this is definitely a government agency in a sense. It's ridiculous to consider even charging them. I'll make a motion that we waive the rental fee for the use of the Civic Center for the World Human Powered Speed Challenge and for the Battle Mountain Chucker Tournament, for ever.
I don't think we can
I
do
don't
forever.
believe you can do that, Commissioner.
Well, how can I,
You can do, you can only decide things for how long you guys are sitting in your
So like
seats,
2
so
years, I
4 years.
2 or 4 years.
Well, I mean, I've got a question, how do we set policy be set? Now, it's up to the new commission to change that policy if they like. No different than it would be up for the new commission to change this, even though she made that motion.
exactly.
It must be recognized.
But I believe once the document is pulled and we confirm that it says 501c3s are not to be charged as well as government entities, I think that's gonna clear up a lot of things. And that document, based on what our discussion, is gonna show that, and
It makes it a
it
moot
should cover
point.
it forever.
Right.
Well, it depends on the wording. Governmental agencies, they're not necessarily a governmental agency.
We are considered by the IRS as a governmental agency created by NRS, and through the county commission, we were created for the purpose of promoting all the things that Lander County has to offer. So
They're a
I'm not
quasi-governmental agency, and they're a district.
So,
it doesn't state that in the IRS letter.
Well, no, but it
Okay.
states in Nevada that NRS is.
So
But
regardless-
it may fall within the guidelines, I haven't read the contract, I'm not,
and I'm very appreciative of the guidelines, and if that's what the guidelines said, that's fine. But as Brian stated, we can set policy, and we can have an open-ended, whatever we want. If the next commission that comes after us wants to change it, that's up to them. But for now, my motion is that I don't feel, with the benefits that the convention and tourism brings to Lander County, that they should be charged to use a facility that they have a vested interest in. So, okay, I'm gonna say for perpetuity, is the new commission that wants to come on board, fine. They can disagree, they can change whatever they want. But for now, my motion stands that I don't believe that they should be charged for these events. And I will leave it open as to the dates, because if things do change, and, you know, it's for now and all future uses for these 2 particular events.
Well, so, and just to add to that, there could be in the future other events that we try to bring in, conventions, if we get another hotel, there's,
We can't talk about that, Paula.
For
It's
right
not.
now, we have these 2 on
Okay.
the agenda,
Okay.
so that's
So
what the
that's the only,
motion is.
yeah. But yeah, that's my motion, and if you find in the documentation that it says it's, that's the way it's been set up, fine. If not, my motion still stands the way I presented it.
I'll second.
Okay, Judy made the motion and Kathy seconded that. Any other discussion? I'll open it for public comment.
My name is Shirley Shepherd, and I mean, you just said that, I'm with the Bass Club. We've been a nonprofit organization, and we've been paying for the last 25 years to put our event on, so.
You shouldn't have been. I just found that out this week, truly.
Really?
So, yes, and that's what it, in the assurances for nonprofits.
So when you do this motion, whatever you're doing, are you going to clarify that, so that nonprofit organizations now know we don't have to be paid? We don't have to pay?
No, we're not, Shirley, because that's not on the agenda, just right now, these two events. But that is something we simply will be looking into.
As soon as we
The
get
other
it.
question,
we're
I'm
talking.
sorry, is whether it's a nonprofit 501c3, which, you know, so that makes a difference too. But we certainly will be looking into it.
According to the other Kathy Ancho, because she's the one that did it all, she said that in their stipulations, because it was 7980 that this happened, they said in the grant, it says nonprofits. She does not believe it breaks down a 501c3, because at that time, there was just one type of nonprofit at that time. So once we get that, because it's on microfiche, we're having it pulled, and as soon as we get that, at that point, assurance to that, nonprofits are not supposed to be charged.
Well, I mean, like in the past, before we were 501c, we were paying 500. Now that we're 501, so that's something that has to be addressed too.
Well, if you're a nonprofit, according to this, that
No
you
matter
don't-
what your status.
your status, according to Kathy Ancho, that if you're a nonprofit, then that's what that building was built for, and that's what and that's what, you know, I've pulled a bunch of information from the Flashman Fund, and that's what all they do, are those type of grants for people and communities, and they want, you know, that's what they do millions and millions of dollars every year for these kinds of things, and we just happened to get it, you know, back in the 80s, like 7980, when it was, you know, got that, and Dick Swackhammers was one of the ones who helped, you know, get it as well with Kathy Ancho. So, I mean, it just took some digging to find, you know, I went from one hole to another until I found out exactly, and we do have it being pulled on microfiche, so we can find out exactly what the assurances were.
So this will go back on the agenda?
Yes, well,
and
because
be
for the other,
approved.
for everybody else that's nonprofit.
Well,
I would-
it'll be in general for everybody.
Yeah.
If the wording is all nonprofits, then we would change the procedure on the Civic Center for every nonprofit,
Right.
not for individual ones.
Because when we redid this, actually this year, we wanted to make sure that the nonprofits were paying less, and that's why it was reduced. But now that we have the history that we need to research,
Right.
then we definitely will be going forward with that. That's an extremely important part, so.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other public comment?
Excuse me, this is Austin.
Go ahead, Kim.
We're out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, since there's no other discussion, I will call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And that one passes, and we move into number 14
you.
for you.
Thank you.
Discussion and possible action to approve or disapprove the temporary road closure signed by NDOT application guidelines for the World Human Powered Bike Race on SR Highway 305. Mile markers are LA 99-105 from September 8th through the 14th, 2019, and all other matters properly related thereto.
Now, just one comment there, the highway patrolman, did mention that they've, renumbered, the mile markers on there. In the permit that we have, we went with what we had last year, but since last year's event, they did change them, and I think it's 30 through 70. So I don't know if, that's going to make a difference, but I was just made aware of this yesterday.
We might want to do the motion a little bit more flexible, but, Counselor, I don't think legally it's gonna make that much difference on the agenda item.
Well,
If that changes a little bit on the mile markers?
No, if you put in the motion that all the mile markers that are going to be used in the bike race,
Okay,
and instead of by number, it will.
got it.
I'll make the motion that we approve the temporary road closure approved by NDOT for the application guidelines for the World Human Powered Bike Race on State Route Highway 305. Previous mile markers, LA 99 through 105, which will be determined later for the actual event, from September 8th through the 14th, 2019.
I'll second.
And the chair to sign.
And authorize the chair to sign.
Thank you. Judy made the motion, Kathy seconded. Any other discussion here?
I do have a question, Paula. Don't we typically, shut down some of the streets in town?
That's on the next agenda item.
Oh,
And
and
just
just one at a time, sorry.
Yeah, right. So, and just a little thing on this particular item, the road closures are only for 20 minutes. You know, they're not, it's not all day, you know, there's been some misconception on, you know, how long we're out there. They have, in your packet, it has the schedule of the times that they close down. After the first school bus goes by, then they start closing down for 20 minutes at a time. And at 20 minutes, they clear the road, let the traffic go through, everyone that's there, and then they close it again so that we can get as many people through it. Right now, we have 12 different countries confirmed that are coming. And so Japan was missing last year, but they're definitely coming back this year with the possibility of Egypt as well. So we are at the point where it's going to be harder and harder for us to accommodate everyone who wants to race there. So that will be another item that we'll discuss later in the commission meeting.
Okay, I'll open that item up to public comment. Hearing none. I will call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And none opposed. Okay, that passes, and we move to 15. Discussion and possible action to approve or disapprove regarding the temporary road closure per NDOT permit for the World Human Power Speed Challenge Parade and Bike Drag Races on September 13th, 2019 on Forest and Front Street, Broad Street, and 8th Street from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. Also requesting a temporary road closure on Weaver Street, which is by the duck ponds, to hold the annual bike drags from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. and all other matters properly related thereto.
So this year is our 20th anniversary of the event, and so we've been working all year. I believe the governor's office is sending us a proclamation to acknowledge the fact that we've been doing this for 20 years in Lander County, and they're pretty happy about that. We have some people from the State Tourism Agency that are gonna come, and so part of this is our third annual parade, where we get anyone really that wants to come, but a lot of our bike racers line up, as well as the school kids, and we just make a parade through town to bring awareness of our event. And then over by the high school, we have bicycle drag races where the kids can race against world record holders, and we have a variety of prizes and things that we give out to the kids just to get them more involved into bicycling and things like that. We also have some safety things that we go over with the kids on how to ride their bicycles safely, and helmets and things like that. So it's been a pretty great event for us, and just really this is help us bring awareness in our community about this wonderful event that we're so lucky to have.
And so you were saying that the governor's office is doing a proclamation.
Yes.
So we might throw it out there for consideration that we do a proclamation, because I know not very many people know about this event or pay much about, but we have people, like you said, from all over the country that come here. And to do this event, and I think it's quite, it's a very cool event if you're ever to go out and watch it here, or the participation that the riders have with the kids. It really is an interesting event, so we might consider on the closest commissioner meeting to the event, if we could, doing a proclamation for them to show our appreciation to the amount of money that they do bring into our county every year.
Would you like to restate that in item 16?
Right. So I'll be quiet now.
I'll make a motion to approve the temporary road closure per NDOT permit for the World Human Powered Speed Challenge Parade and Bike Drag Races on September 13th, 2019 on Forest and Front Street, Broad Street, and 8th Street from 12:30 p.m. until 1 p.m. And also, approve a temporary road closure on Weaver Street by the duck ponds to hold the annual bike drags from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. And that would also be on the 13th of September. And do we need to authorize the chair to sign?
I'll second.
Thank you. Judy made the motion, Brian seconded that. Any public comment? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, Okay, and that one passes.
Thank you very
And
much.
we thank you. Paula, do you have any of the extra ones, your information postcards you put out that you could read for me?
Yep, and then
Thank you.
I did take some down to Austin a couple months ago, so they should be in the rack too, but they're right here, along with our press release, if anyone needs that, or the PowerPoint that we just went over.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation and update, and we sincerely appreciate everything you do. We truly do. It's exciting for all of our county. Okay, we are going to go back and pick up a few that we skipped over this morning. So we start with number 4, discussion of hiring practices within Lander County and all other matters properly related thereto. Just a discussion item, but some things have come up that we wanted to take a look at and see if we're following all proper procedures. Good morning.
Good morning. My name is Lenny Shepherd, and I just, I don't have a vendetta against anybody or anything. I'm not mad at anybody. I just looked at this situation where on hiring anybody that's been an official, there's a cooling off period of 1 year before they're supposed to be able to get another job with the county. And the cooling off's not just for the individual, it's for the county too. But I think this is a violation of the NRS statute 281A 550. And it's not a fair hiring practice if somebody just gets shooed in there what if somebody else wants to put in for the job? I think there's a lawsuit going there if somebody else wanted the job and they're not going by their NRS statutes.
Okay, so there's a couple things here. One is the NRS statute that you're talking about, the cooling off period, which is 1 year that the statute refers to. And the other one is the practice of, if we do hire in-house, are we still advertising outside also, and maybe giving preference to the in-house? Because on the one you're specifically referring to, we've had some that have just been in-house and we haven't advertised outside.
Okay.
Is that my understanding?
Yeah, I understand that. I don't understand this cooling off.
No, I'm just clarifying, that's what you're asking.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, got it. No, I wasn't explaining, I was just trying to get the
Okay.
context.
I would like to have somebody explain to me, what is the difference in 6 months and a year? I mean, last time I went to school, if things would've waited until the first of the year, I don't think anybody can say anything.
Okay, I think we did some research on that in the NRS, right?
Yes.
And I guess maybe it's a clarification of what the NRS actually says, because when you read it, it does say 1 year.
It says 1 year for contracts.
1 year for a contract.
If one of the county commissioners had entered into a contract with a third party or was part of making a contract for a third party, then they wouldn't be able to work for that person for a year.
Well, it does talk about businesses as well, so.
Well, that's the thing, yeah. It
Okay.
was,
Right.
that's the thing is, it's the argument of law.
Okay.
I mean, you can have attorneys argue this. And I did, I sat down and I read this thing over and over, probably 3 nights, clearing words. And then that's, from and this, again, it's my understanding, my opinion of that law. Doesn't mean that it's the right opinion, but like Judy stated, I think where it states, I apologize, I didn't bring my glasses. Shall not solicit or accept employment from a business or industries whose activities are governed by the regulation adopted by the board. So we're talking business or industry. And, go ahead.
wouldn't the rec center be a business? They charge to get in.
Again, it's up to interpretation, it's a
I mean,
government, it's a
I'm just-
government-run facility.
Well, the main thing here with all these arguments is that even as a district attorney, it's an ethics statute.
Right.
And the only one that has jurisdiction over ethics is the Ethics Commission. So they have to be advised and asked for an opinion. I believe Keith has done that, but I can't give a legal opinion because I don't have jurisdiction over the ethics, and that's an ethics statute, Lenny.
Keith.
So, we have put in a written request to the Ethics Commission for their ethical, or their opinion of that statute. So, as soon as we get that back,
But
I will definitely.
there's a part, I don't mean to interrupt you.
Okay.
So I was the one that sent in the question. And so I sent it in, I got it kicked back to me and said that I am not allowed to ask, I can do a complaint, but I can't ask for an opinion. But I spoke to one of the attorneys that sit on the Ethics Commission, and she specifically said that if this person went to work for a contractor, like the person who built this building, or a vendor, that is where that's considered the cooling off. Or this person couldn't go to work for, like as a county manager that had anything to do with any funding, writing checks, anything like that. And so they said that they, they said that they didn't at that point, but did not believe that it was a violation because the person didn't go to work for a contractor, subcontractor, somewhere where they had agreed to, voted on them to be a contractor. That's not how, what that ethics violation is for. So, the only way we can actually get an opinion from them is to do a complaint, which we don't want to do. But I did speak to them, on the phone and spoke to the attorney, and, she just said, I do not believe that that's what that law means. Okay?
Well, I mean, there's a real gray area there. I mean, if you have a supervisory position and you can, hire and fire or whatever, you're still not within that 1 year. And I think if you waited 1 year, I don't think there would be a complaint about anything.
Oh, yeah, no,
I'm not trying to pick on anybody.
no.
I'm just saying what's, if it walks like a duck and looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it's usually a duck.
Except with that position, there's no authority to do any of that. The position doesn't allow for, being the person who does the hiring, that comes out of HR and comes from his office. He has the authority to do that, not that position. That position also doesn't have the authority to, sign the bills, have any kind of thing other than the direct supervision of people.
Okay.
And so that's where, the ethics said they're two different birds. And I did try, like I said, I wrote for an opinion and they shot it right back and called me and said, oop, you can't do it unless it's on yourself. You can't do an opinion, we can't give you an opinion unless it's on yourself, so.
Yeah, I worked for the county, I retired 30 years there, and I remember 27 or 8 or 9 commissioners that we had, and I honestly remember, guys, it was a set deal. If you couldn't go back to work for the county for a year if you were a public official, and I know a couple of them that got turned down.
Well,
They never even asked. It was one of those things where you can't do that.
Well, we do have a policy on the books which states 6 months,
6 months.
not a year.
But that still doesn't NRS statute override any
Well,
little
again, we're
policy?
getting, I understand what you're saying, Lenny, but again, we're getting into the interpretation
Okay.
of the statute, which
Okay.
I'm not an attorney. We can consult
I'm
attorneys
not either.
and the people that are supposed to know.
Yeah, and I could give you my opinion, but it's not valid because Ethics Commission is the only one that has jurisdiction over it.
So if I wanted to, it doesn't look like that you guys can go ask for one, so I have to make a complaint.
You can make a complaint,
Mhm.
certainly can.
Who do I make it against? Everybody?
Whoever's,
I mean,
Specific.
I mean-
You can be very specific in your complaint, and if, after the meeting, I can certainly show you how to do it. It's,
Well, I have the form,
okay.
but.
Well, you can do it online now,
Oh,
you
you
just,
can?
yeah, it's very easy, you
Well,
just
that
go
would
in
be a
and,
problem for me.
well, but you can, they, you know, it's accessed online, you can do
Okay.
those that way, but like I
Okay.
said, I attempted and they, shot it right back to me, actually called me and said, no, but like I said, I did call them and ask and spoke to an attorney, and that's the, you know, the best to her ability of information that she could give me was that she,
Yeah.
you know, so,
All right, well. I'm
but
sorry.
thank you, you know, for,
Well, like I say, I think somebody's, if they don't have stuff straightened out like this, somebody could sue the county for a bunch, for not, they can say, well, we gotta send, this is so vague that,
but
Lenny,
then, oh, go ahead,
I
sorry.
just, and I know we've talked about this, is I did, like Kathy, talk to the ethics, and she was pretty clear with me that it was business specifically. It was not, and whether or not you look at the rec center or any,
get the right lawyer and he can
Well-
probably say it is a business.
it,
That right there.
it's part of the county, so it's not considered a separate business. But I wanna thank you for bringing this before the commission, because I know there has been a lot of, public outrage over certain situations, and, you know, regardless of the outcome, I know some people wish it were differently. The NRS is in favor of some situations, and
All right. Okay.
but like I said, again, I wanna thank you for bringing this before us.
Well, I'm not trying, like I say, I don't have a vendetta against anybody, it's just, right's right and wrong's wrong.
And I agree with that.
And I know people that have been turned down, and that's kinda what made me mad.
I think it should be, you know, I don't know if we could make it a county policy because it would supersede the NRS, but it should be something,
Well, if you waited a year,
does.
there would be nothing said.
exactly, yeah.
That's just how I see it.
I
Okay.
agree with you 100%.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Shepherd. While we're on the discussion, the other item that I mentioned was how we're doing our advertising. And in discussing with some of the other counties, apparently, even if they want to do it within the county and do it in-house, that they still advertise outside too, and then they get preferential treatment. So with this one, we did not advertise outside, right?
That is correct. It was
So
advertised.
we did it in-house, so if we'd like to change some of that in discussion, those are just some things to throw out of what we might like
Right,
to
and
do.
I did speak to Keith, cause our policy right now is kind of open-ended, you should say. It does say internal, external, but it doesn't clarify. And I've talked to Keith that I think that it would probably be wise if this board agreed to sit down and review that policy, those policies that deal with that, and, rework them where they need to be reworked.
So,
I think that's true, and I also understand that some of our elected officials and their offices are doing, some of their hiring a little bit different than we do. It doesn't always go through our HR. And so with that, I think that needs to be addressed too, because I know, specifically in some areas where they've advertised, but they actually haven't interviewed everybody or even called everybody or acknowledged that application. So we need to look at some of those things too, yes.
would you like a brief overview of how we do hiring?
I think that's excellent, it's on the agenda.
It's on the agenda. So with the exception of the sheriff's department, they do their own hiring due to the uniqueness of the department. There are departments within, the county that do their own, advertising and hiring and so forth with limited contact to HR. Okay?
those are the ones that have their own HR, Sheriff's Department, DA's office.
Not necessarily, I'm just making this as an overall, okay, as an overall. There are some departments, with the exception of the sheriff's office and the district attorney's office within the county, that do their own advertising and application taking with very limited, help of HR. So when we get an open position, it's advertised internally for 1 week. If we get applicants internally that are qualified, that's where the process stops. If they're qualified and they're a current county employee, that's where it stops. And then we go with that, that applicant or those applications, and that's what we base our hiring off of internally. If it goes external, we put it in the paper, it's advertised externally, the applications come into HR in most cases. They come to the HR, they're screened there. Coordinating is done with the office that's hiring. The interviews are set up, and then they are conducted at that point. We keep lists, hiring lists for 6 months in order to save money. If we don't have to go back out within 6 months and that job comes open, we can hire off of that list. That's brief and kind of in a nutshell of how the hiring works. But like I say, there are some departments that don't completely use HR.
So why do we have departments within the county that's circumventing outside of the ones that are established, doing their own hiring and bypassing the county's HR? It's because it's our policy that's set for that HR for hiring practices, right?
That's correct. You set the policy for hiring with the exception of the sheriff's department.
And the DA.
And the DA. So you set that policy. And we have had elected officials come and they want to do their own hiring.
Well, that's why I say we need to relook at our policy.
I have to agree with that, because in essence, these are not employees of a certain elected official, these are employees of Lander County, whereas they will be and continue to be employees of Lander County. It could possibly be far after a particular elected official is gone, so they need to be following the Lander County policies. And
I'm not saying they're not following the policies,
right,
but
well,
they do their own hiring, which is separate.
I understand they can hire, they can go through the interview process, and hire, but we still have the policy of in-house, we still have the policy of if no one, in-house applies, it goes out of house. So, but as far as, I think, applications coming in, we have an HR that covers the whole county, excluding the sheriff's office and the district attorney, and these need to be processed properly.
So I have a question. So, where does the policy cover that the other agencies are allowed to have their own HR? Is there do we have something in procedures that says excluding these offices, or is it just been that they have created their own HR I understand the sheriff's office, and I'm not picking on the DA's office or anything, I just wanna understand that, from being here for all the years, I never knew of the district attorney's office or justice court or anybody else having their own HR.
Justice court doesn't. I want to
So,
make that
well, no,
clear.
I'm just
Yeah.
throwing that out there, so how did that come to fruition for these other offices, the other office to have their own HR? That's my,
So I don't want to speak out of turn, I'm going to refer to the DA to answer that. His office has their own.
Our policies and procedures clearly state, I think on the first page, that the sheriff's office and DA's office is exempt. And they're both exempt and they have their own HRs because there's a conflict of interest if they had used the county's HR because of confidentiality concerns. And I've got an opinion from the district court judge as to that also. And I did that 5 years ago.
okay.
Are other counties doing it that way?
Yes.
The other question that comes up is, who makes the decision then whether this is going to be in-house or whether I'm gonna advertise outside?
We usually start in-house we start in-house first, and then we go out.
But that's not true with all of our agencies. It's not true with Public Works.
I'm not familiar
okay.
with it going right
You know,
out to advertising.
Yeah, we have a lot to discuss, we have a lot that we need to look at here, and so we will, put this,
Okay.
on an upcoming agenda, and I thank you all for your discussion, and I am gonna open it up for any other public comment. We have a lot of work to do on this. Yes, come on.
When you're going over the procedures and stuff for hiring, are you gonna address how you decide when you go outside agencies to determine who gets hired and who doesn't? Or when you keep it in-house to decide? Because on the safety position, it randomly was sent out to an outside agency after it was inside. And then the very next position that came up, there was a supervisory position, then was all taken care of in-house. So, I mean, while you're addressing policies, I would hope that that's in there.
Yeah, absolutely would be. I mean, that's part of, for myself.
But I thought, that it was originally advertised in-house and nobody qualified, to my belief. Now,
That is-
I'm
you are
assuming that
correct.
nobody qualified in-house, so at that point it went out.
Yes, and it was given to an outside agency in order to cover literally the entire country. We had over 100 applicants that went to this outside agency, and then it was whittled down to 9, I believe.
So if you followed what you've done in the past, it went internal, and then when there was not qualified candidates, then
And
it
it was,
went outside.
and it was also advertised in the local paper as well, through this outside company,
Okay.
yes.
So the ones that were not
Come
qualified,
on up so we can get you on the record, okay?
the ones that were not qualified, were they given notice that they weren't qualified, or were they allowed to go to the outside agency?
They were allowed to go to the outside agency. The candidates that were done in-house were also, those names, I personally delivered them to the company, were given to the company, and they were given the opportunity
Right, but if they were already, you deemed them unqualified, why did you continue them?
for a second opinion.
I don't know.
Okay, no other public comment? We will.
My name's Shirley
one more,
Shepherd.
Shirley.
I just have a question. In one of the recent job openings, you
I'm
brought in
sorry,
an
Shirley.
outside interview.
Shirley,
Yes.
just a minute. You do need to give your name for the record.
I did.
Oh,
Shirley
thank you,
Shepherd.
I missed that, thank you.
So my question is, why do, in some instances, you do your own interviews, and others you bring in an outside?
So the reason I brought in an outside for the safety position, the safety training position, was due to the speciality of it. So I brought in experts from the state, Nevada Division of Forestry, their statewide training officer, from the State Fire Marshal's Office, their statewide training officer, and from the Elko County Fire Protection District, their fire department training officer for the county. So they were experts in their area, that's why they were brought in due to the
Well, my son-in-law was interviewed, and he is a safety guy, and he said he was not asked one safety question. So it was
an outside agency, like I said, and I don't know exactly what questions they asked.
Really?
But I do believe there were safety questions
No.
asked.
There wasn't. I was part of the interviews.
Yeah,
There was
he
forestry
never.
questions and.
No, Lena, please, you guys, you need to come up. Sorry.
I just was curious because I just thought it was really odd that you bring somebody in from the outside to do the interview supposedly because their expertise in those fields, and then the interview doesn't even include a question about that field.
They asked OSHA questions, basically your one-on-one OSHA certificate questions is what were asked.
And those OSHA questions are safety related, clearly safety related.
Absolutely safety
But
related.
not part of what you entailed from the outside agency that the outside agency wanted. I mean, he obviously qualified way better, but they were more in-depth on their questioning than just the basic one-on-one certificate.
Oh, you're talking the initial,
That's what she
you're
bring up.
talking about the initial,
Interviews.
the first interview with the
Yes.
3
With the
applicants.
forestries, it was all firemen and forestries that did the interviews.
Well, I have those, there were safety questions in there,
It was the OSHA questions.
definitely, yes. Because I made those questions on the first one, I knew what they were. And
That was all the questions that were
They
answered.
were definitely safety questions.
It was,
Safety.
that was the 10 questions we got, was the OSHA questions.
There
That
was,
the
there
only-
was fire training questions in there. I still have a copy of those questions. I know it was asked.
It was 10 questions. They were, it's the same ones off the OSHA ones, because I did it online, they're the exact same questions.
That's right, they were. Very basic questions.
Okay, we are moving on to number, oh, I'm sorry, one more.
Donette Johnson, I have a question as far as being an ex-county employee. What is your guys' policy as far as being on leave? I was injured, I was on leave.
I'm sorry, that's not.
No, what I'm asking is, when you are hiring in-house, when you keep it in-house, what is your policy to people that are on medical leave, giving them notice?
No, but what I'm saying is, the only thing on our agenda is our hiring practices. So we want to
But if
answer your,
we're
we want to answer
transferring-
your question. So if you will stay after the meeting, and we will address it directly for you.
Okay.
Because it's only in hiring practices.
Well, yeah, but if it's an in-house position, if you are applying an
I
in-house
understand what
position,
you're asking,
it's a
but I'm
hiring
saying,
practice, I feel.
we aren't going into that part, that's not covered, but we'll answer you if you wait till afterwards. Thank you. Okay, number 11. Get out your calendars, commissioners.
Oh, that's.
Discussion and possible action to approve or disapprove the November, December Lander County Commission meeting and to set a holiday schedule and all other matters properly related thereto. We have some definite conflicts here. In November, we are meeting on the 14th, and if we continued with our correct day, it would be Thanksgiving. So unless Keith offers to do the turkey for us here, we have a couple choices. One is that we only do one meeting in November. And then if we look at the next one, we're doing both of them at the same time. We're looking at December with the 12th, and then of course the day after Christmas. So what we have done before is we actually have moved the one that would be on the 28th. We've moved to the first Thursday in December. And if we do that, then we can do the 19th of December also. So you could have one in November, two in December, if you want to move those two. If not, you can do one in November, you can do one in December on the 12th, because that's the only day that we can really do, unless we do the 5th and the 19th. So,
Well, I don't see why we can't do in November the 7th and the 21st, and December the 5th and the 19th. Move those 2 months to the 1st and 3rd.
no, we just met on the 14th, why would we meet on the 19th again?
No, I'm saying move the 14th to the 7th. So in November, do the 1st and 3rd, in December, do the 1st and 3rd.
Oh. I'm okay with that if you ladies are okay in the clerk's office.
So we're talking the 7th, the 21st,
We do the
The
7th, the 21st, the 5th,
and the
and the
19th.
19th. We do all four.
I'm fine with it. If it works for.
Do you
everybody else.
have problems on Thursdays on that?
Have our calendar. Not that we know right now.
Well, we could go ahead and set it, and always, if we have to change it, we still have plenty of time to change it.
I'll make a motion that we set our November commissioner schedule to reflect the 7th and the 21st, 2019, and our commissioners' meeting schedule for December 2019 to be held on the 5th and the 19th.
I'll second that.
Okay, Judy made the motion that we change November and December to the 1st and 3rd Thursdays for both months. And Kathy seconded that. Any other discussion? Any public comment? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and that takes care of those two. Number 12, discussion and possible action to approve or disapprove changing, canceling, or no change for the commission meeting on September 26, 2019, due to the conflicting date with the annual NACO conference in Reno and all of the matters properly related thereto. I'm only gonna repeat that once. Okay, so the 26th, of course, is our commission day. You were gonna check with Sadie and see if the 30th might be okay? Or there again, if we wanna cancel it, depending what's going on in September. Did you check with her?
I did not. I forgot, yeah. But she's got staff here, so. I
Yeah,
thought
but
it wouldn't do all at once.
they don't always know right
I
off
thought
the bat.
I thought we would wait and do all the dates at once, so I guess I thought Sadie would be here.
We were thinking if it was possible, if we could do the 19th, Thursday the 19th, because there's absolutely enough staff to cover that week.
But we're meeting the 12th, we don't need to meet 2 weeks back to back.
I know that, but we were talking about maybe switching those two so that we'll have enough staff. Because the 12th, we will be at CFOA, Sadie and I, so we won't have enough staff.
So if we did the same thing for September and
Yeah.
went from the first and third Thursdays? And that actually, if you look at August, we have a meeting on the 22nd. That does give time.
Yeah, it gives us 2 weeks.
September, yes. Oops.
I personally would rather look at a Monday, and I know that's strange, but if they can do that, rather than move both dates again.
Or no change, because we still have a quorum. You'd be here, I'd be here, and Art would be here, right?
You're not going?
I will know on the 26th I'll be in, because it's a Central Nevada Water District meeting.
There is a concern on if you're changing it to the 5th of September, if we have enough time to publish and give notice of the change.
That's
I mean,
true,
we
too.
would for every date after that,
No,
but
I don't wanna
the
change
5th is
that.
really cutting it close.
Because of Labor Day.
Oh, that's right.
I'm really not in favor of changing both of them, I'm really not. And it depends, I suppose it depends how much that we have to go by, but I mean, if we have an extra long one in November on the 10th,
Yeah.
a lot of our things we can just put forward one more time. So since we're working all through October, November, and December, maybe we'll just skip the one in September, does that sound okay?
That's fine.
Well, and I think if we do that, is set the one in September for the 19th, because as Kathy and Tosh have said, they've got, the clerk's office has training in Elko the week of the 10th. So if we just put it on the, set it for the 19th of September.
But then you have to change it fifth, we just said we don't even.
No,
Can we
just one,
do one?
just one in.
Oh, just one date and move it to the
So
middle.
instead of doing it the 12th,
Oh,
move
okay,
it
just
to the
move it to the middle.
19th, and then
Okay.
cancel the 26th.
Oh,
I'm
I see
okay,
what you're saying.
I'm okay with that. That's fine.
And cancel the 12th too.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
so I'll make a motion that we set the, commissioner's schedule for September 2019 to hold one meeting on September 19th, 2019.
I'll second.
Okay, Judy made the motion then that we're holding one meeting on the 19th, so we will be canceling the 12th and the 26th. This is in September. And Kathy seconded that. Any other discussion? Public comment?
Just wanna be sure that in the motion it says you're gonna cancel the 12th and the 26th,
I put it on the record.
but it wasn't in
She
So
said
I will-
only one
my-
meeting is what she
Yeah,
said.
so we will cancel.
Only one meeting,
Just want
and I
clarification.
clarified it for the record
Okay.
that we're canceling the other two.
Okay,
So yes.
we gotta advertise all these dates, so I wanna make sure they're right.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and that takes care of, I think, all of the matters. We move to correspondence, I believe. Did I take care of everything? Okay. Correspondence, reports, potential upcoming agenda items.
So, I think, one thing we've already kind of talked about is the hiring practice and procedures on that. So, put that as an agenda item. I would like discussion, regarding the agenda. So I'm not quite sure how we wanna word that, cause I know I did put an agenda request in.
What was it? I didn't hear that, Judy, sorry.
I did put, an agenda request into Keith for discussion on the agenda itself, which didn't go on this agenda, so.
How we put it together and
Moving it back up to the clerk's office, you know, what's included. Setting the agenda, the procedures on that.
You're talking about an ordinance change then?
No,
Well, the ordinance right now is pretty specific that Keith is the one that's obligated to do it.
well, other than it does state that he's ex officio, and that's, contradictory to the NRS statute. That the clerk of court is the ex officio for the commission.
I don't understand.
so if we're just putting it on for discussion, is that all you want?
No, whatever you guys want, I just,
No, I mean, that's what you said. You said,
Well,
I'd
I-
like to discuss.
for possible action.
Okay, the reason I'm asking is I'm saying if you're putting it on, then we need to have a copy of the ordinance and everything with us so we can discuss it.
And have we talked to Sadie on it? She wants it
Yes,
back?
we have, Kathy and I talked to.
Okay.
Okay, I'm a little confused. As far as wanting it back, I don't know that she actually ever did the whole, she wasn't the one who, for the years that if my memory serves me, she's not the one who, actually put the agenda together.
No, but when the agenda committee met, she was part of it. She was always there. The DA was there, the clerk was there. We usually had a chair, a vice chair, county manager.
And she can still be there. There's no reason, there's nothing that has to be
We're not
changed.
really doing that committee anymore. That's what we're saying. So if we put it on to discuss and see how we'd like to do it, we'll take a look at the ordinance and see what we
Or
want to change.
instead of repeating something we already have, why don't we go back to ground zero of what it says that we do and just go back to that instead of having to have to already redo something that already says that we do it this way. If we're not doing it this way now, then we go back to doing it the way that it's supposed to be done.
That's what I was gonna say, is if we're gonna do it, just have some background of how it was and when the change, when it came forth and why. That's what I'd like to see.
Well, the other thing I'd also like to see back on the agendas is the payroll change requests. I know they were taken off. And I do feel they need to be put back on. So that could be under an agenda discussion.
And then I would like to, except so now that the dates, you were out, when we changed the date to September 19th for the proclamation for your cycling. Is that something that would still be doable for any of your people to attend?
I'll just remember for the record, no, they leave on the 15th, so it would have worked nicely on the 12th to have that commission meeting, so they could have all come in here, but, that would be, whatever you can do.
Yes, so on the 19th, if we put something together, for the 20th, just a proclamation.
Is it for August or September? Pardon?
September 19th.
Okay.
No, September's too late, so it has to be on this agenda for the 22nd.
Yeah, they
Right?
wouldn't be able to attend either
They
meeting.
they wouldn't be able to attend either one.
So if you did it earlier, I would at least have that for the paper. and-
Okay, that's fine. Then if we can do it on the next agenda, please.
Since we're on Commission on Tourism, we had another one actually, when they were before us and we had to redo some of the things. One was, we had to impart a service fee. Remember that we were collecting their funds for, do you remember that, Ted? That we had to do a service fee for the Commission on Tourism?
A service fee?
Yeah. Remember when they came before
Oh.
us? And we had to put a service fee on them, a minimal service fee for doing all their finances and stuff?
Right.
And you were going to make up an agreement?
A letter, yes, and I'm waiting for the information so I can write it.
So we need to have that on.
Well, as soon as, no, the letter is sent. I'm doing the letter for them to send to us.
You did do the letter already?
No, I didn't.
Oh,
I
okay.
don't have the information yet, and I've requested it
Okay,
so I can do the letter.
got it.
This is the information I'm talking about. I need all the information on what the county does for them now, so in the letter that I will write on their behalf, you'll be asking me and the county commission to please help them do that same stuff.
Right, and you're still,
I haven't
gathering
got that
information.
information yet.
okay,
I've requested.
okay, because this was what, 3-4 months ago that we did this, so I
I understand.
was ready to see where we were.
I'm waiting for the information so I can do the letter.
Information from whom? From
From-
Paula or from our,
No, from the county.
From our
who
county?
Actually does, I don't know what they do for Paula.
okay, so we need to look into this. Somebody needs to light a fire, I guess is what we're saying. We do so much of this. We ask for things, we think it's done, and then,
And it just goes away.
and then
So
it
then
falls.
can we just direct Keith to find out?
I will resend the information, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
It wasn't sent.
okay. So we'll split hairs and say, can we just have it sent,
Yes.
please?
And the
We'll go from there.
information's gonna be coming from the fiscal officer.
HR, finance,
Okay,
And
so if we can get
whoever
that
does-
done.
Whatever they do, because I don't know.
Okay, well, so whomever does it.
So, I was reading our county code, and there's some information under the county manager in regards to department heads. And in essence, Keith doesn't have any department heads underneath him. We only have 2 department heads. We have our county manager and our public works director. And so basically, the code is not correct in that sense, so I don't know if we want to bring that before us to correct it.
Well, according to Pool Pack, yes, when I asked them about that, they are the ones who made the suggestion that it be done that way. Because for as long as I understood that there was always department heads. And they said by having department heads, there was too many hands in the fire. So that's what you had a county manager doing. So that came directly from, Pool Pack, because I had that same question. So I don't know if we didn't update our information to go along with Pool Pack, but we just took on the procedure, or if we did prior to us coming on, you guys did change the procedure, or what went on?
so I think what she's talking about is, in the code, it refers to department heads, but the 2 department heads are Public Works and the county manager, and that department head term should be changed to supervisor. That's what it boils down to.
Right,
Okay.
it's not, it's, right,
Okay,
a little more simpler than what I explained it, but yeah, it just needs to be changed to supervisor.
oh, okay.
Which means we have to go through the whole code process again, but we should correct it.
Anything else on the agenda? Okay. Moving to public comment again. Public comment is for non-agendized items only. Persons are invited to submit comments in writing and/or attend and make comments on any non-agenda item at the board meeting, if any, and the discussion of those comments at the discretion of the board. All public comment may be limited to 3 minutes per person, again, at the discretion of the board. Reasonable restrictions may be placed on public comments based upon time, place, and manner, but public comment based upon viewpoint may not be restricted. Any public comment? Hearing none.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Judy, second by Kathy, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's come on up and let's see what we need to do about your specific question on